Hey Guru Nation, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to the blog. You'll be notified of webinars, upcoming webinars, which are free. Sometimes we do giveaways where we just pick random subscribers and send them something. So subscribe, YouTube, subscribe to the blog, and then send in your questions, all right? Dan at theclinicaltrialsguru.com. You can also text me or call 949-415-6256. It is a Google Voice number, but it goes right to my cell phone. Or you can find me on all the social networks. Okay, so let's get right into it. Today's question is right up my alley, so let me read it to you. It's from someone from a CRO. I'm new to CROs, but not to marketing. There's often a general bad taste in the community's mouth in regards to volunteering for studies. I'd be interested in hearing your recommendations on where to reach out for joint marketing efforts within the community, how to talk about CROs to bring a favorable light to the organization, and what types of efforts bring in the most qualified volunteers. So I guess we can start backwards with the what. What type of efforts bring in the most qualified volunteers? I've said this so many times on these videos and on the blog and on webinars. There is no substitute for patients directly recruited from the PI's private practice or the sub-investigator's private practice or referral physicians that are really close colleagues with the PI, okay? Bottom line, nothing else better than that. So for you, since you're a CRO, which also is one of my startup companies is a CRO, the way you can best solve this patient recruitment problem as a CRO, because you can't actually recruit the patients yourself, the best thing you can do as a CRO is pay attention to which sites you're selecting for the studies, right? Do they have PIs with their own private practice? Do they have sub-Is with their own private practice? What percentage of patients in their private practice are likely to qualify for the study? These are some of the things that CROs need to spend more time focusing on, and they don't do it enough, and this is where I think there's an opportunity for my CRO. I'm already seeing it actually, and for yours perhaps, is site selection. So the old way of doing it was to go after your established research clinics, right? Research sites that have been in the community for a long period of time, for decades and decades. They've been in the community, they're known by people in the community, and there's definitely some advantages to that. There's many advantages to that. Those sites are experienced, those sites know how to follow GCP, those PIs understand what research is. The problem is sometimes those sites don't have private practice aspect affiliated with their research site. So many times the doctor, the PI, once started out as a private practice physician, then they realized that research is actually more lucrative, and over the years gradually shifted from private practice to research, right? It happens a lot. The problem is, yes, now you have a lot of experience. Your PI knows GCPs, familiar with the protocols, he knows how to source document, he knows all that stuff, right? But what they don't have is access to the patients anymore, because they don't do that anymore. So the best way to solve the clinical trial study participant recruitment problem is to select physicians, to select PIs that have their own private practice, and a large majority of their private practice are actually patients that could possibly qualify for your trial. Okay? A lot easier said than done, mainly because of those PIs or those physicians that have those large private practices don't have time for research, right? So it's like a catch-22. The physicians that do have time for research and have even been doing research for a long time don't necessarily have the patience, and the ones that do have the patience don't have very much time for research and don't have the experience, right? So as a CRO, you're in charge of site selection, so you want a nice mix right, of various types of sites. One of the things we do at my CRO, we select a percentage, and that we're still playing around with this, but and also it depends on the complexity of the particular protocol. So if it's a very specific medical condition, then we obviously would increase this percentage to be a higher percentage of research naive physicians. That means physicians with large private practices that don't have research experience. We want them involved in research, right? Because this is going to be a tough study to get patients for, and we need these physicians to help out because they have the patients. So the problem there is you got to teach this site. First of all, you got to convince that site that they want to do research. So there's a sales aspect before you even get into the training aspect. So it's no wonder that most CROs do not do this because it's difficult, right? It's a lot easier to go after established sites or sites that have some patients in their private practice, not as many as a research naive physician, but you hope that they'll be able to network with those research naive physicians and get patients. So depending on the complexity of the trial, you find X percentage of research naive sites with large private practices. You encourage them to do research, so you need a sales rep. We have sales reps at my CRO, DSCS, and then you go out there, you train them. So we've been doing consulting for years, and we discovered as a CRO that we can train just about anyone who's never done research. We have our CRA Academy, we can get them studies, we can teach them GCP, we can teach them the whole process of how to conduct a clinical trial at your research site. So this is what we do, and we've had the ingredients all along, and now we finally get the opportunity to put this practice into action and recruit some of these research naive physicians that have the patient population, and hopefully they'll have a good experience with research, because there's an alarming stat in this industry. The majority, and I don't know, it's probably as high as 80%, if not higher, the majority of physicians who participate in their first clinical trial never participate in another one again, right? And they probably are going to discourage their colleagues from ever participating in research. So it's just like any customer service. When you have a bad experience, you're 10 times more likely to tell someone else about your bad experience than when you have a good experience. The same is true for physicians who've had a bad experience in research, right? So a good way to do this is to get research naive physicians, but then have really good training process in place. Maybe even hire a coordinator. One of my clinics in Maryland actually has this study, and the sponsor for that trial actually hired a study coordinator for that site. The study coordinator is being paid by the sponsor. So, and this is like a small biotech, right? So the smaller companies typically can innovate more and have more innovative strategies. So that's something that you as a CRO can consider. We have the manpower. We haven't implemented this in our CRO because we actually have CRAs through our CRA Academy that we trained that could be on site, essentially serving as a study coordinator or a quality assurance person, helping that brand new site learn the process of clinical research, right? But we're not the only ones. There's people doing this as well. There's sponsors doing this. So that's a long answer to your third question. So your second question is where to reach out for joint marketing efforts within the community, physicians, right? And then after that, health fairs, support groups, things like that. Assisted living facilities, residential facilities, depending on where the patient population is being treated or is receiving some kind of service, okay? And then your first question, so I went backwards, how to talk about CROs to bring a favorable light to the organization. So, good thing I spent a long time talking about training, right? Because now you can approach whoever it is that you want to approach and introduce your company to them and say, hey, we're not just the CRO that's going to select you for the site and then leave you alone and let you fail and let you be like the other 80% of physicians who never do another trial after their first one. We're actually going to train your staff at our expense, and if you're the CRO, you can get this approved by the sponsor. It's usually a pass-through cost, and as long as you can justify it, they will pay for it because they're concerned about quality data, and they're also concerned about getting patients quickly in the study because most clinical trials are delayed and go over budget because the sites that they selected are not recruiting patients. So that's the how you can talk about your CRO. Why are you different than others? Because we focus on selecting sites. We have a good mix of research naive physicians with large private practices. We also have some of the more established research sites. And the magic really would be if you find a research naive physician in one community, and in that same community you find an established site, and find some kind of way that's mutually beneficial. I'm sure there is, and I haven't thought about this until now. This just came to my mind, but find a mutually beneficial way for those two to collaborate, not just for this study, but for future trials. Right? I'm sure there's something there. So hopefully that's enough to help you out for now. Thank you for the question. It's actually really good, and it's very timely because we're working on 2 CRO projects right now. One of my goals for 2016 was to get a CRO project before the year's over. It's looking like we're going to have 2. So thank you very much for watching. Talk to you soon. As always, make sure you email me or reach out to me at any time. Thank you very much, Guru Nation. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.